How are you?
I'll take a look. Hello.
I have to tell you on the phone. Resolutions.
Evelyn to our special meeting this evening. It's a few minutes after 6 o'clock. I'll ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will ask Mara, who we thank. She is on the mend and she came right back to work. So Mara, if you could do a roll call, that'd be wonderful.
Councilmember Gully.
Here.
Councilmember Gully.
Here.
Councilmember Garrett is absent. Councilmember Parator.
Here.
Councilmember Cummings.
Here.
Councilmember December.
Present.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Here.
Council President Mantello.
Here.
6 present, 1 absent.
Okey doke. We'll go right into the public forum. We'll open up to anyone that would like to speak on any item on the agenda. There's a public forum after the legislation where you'll be able to step up to the podium to talk about anything going on in your neighborhood or city issues. So please step up to the podium, name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes. Okay, we will close the public forum section. There are no local laws and the resolutions. We will be doing resolution 83, 85, then ordinance 116, then come back to Reso 84. And at your desk, there is an amendment to Reso 84, which we'll hit when we get to the item. So let's get right into it. We'll go into resolution 83. Mara.
Resolution adopting the mayor's recommended budget for the city of Troy for fiscal year 2020 or adopting an amended budget for the city of Troy for fiscal year 2020. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Okay, you know what, we really, I apologize, we probably, well, I know Councilmember Cummings has an amendment. I actually put my amendment in a proposed resolution. So why don't we first hit your amendment, but we eventually have to hit my reso before voting on the resolution 83, okay? Because obviously, if we pass reso
I'll just
83
keep it in.
before
I'll just
mine,
type it
we
in.
want to incorporate mine if it were to pass. Do you know what I'm saying? So we
It's all
could-
active
yeah.
utilities, so sure.
So we could hit reso 85 first, or you could propose your amendment, whatever you'd like.
I mean, I'm fine with voting on resolution 83 as it is. I don't imagine we have an amendment to it we have to discuss.
Well,
I mean, obviously, yes, it would have to be
Anyway.
dramatically changed if your resolution were to pass. But I don't.
that's not accurate, but go ahead. So talk about your reso, or your amendment, please.
Yeah, so, as
We didn't have a motion to open up 83. Are you just gonna talk about it and then?
No,
randomly
do we have a
talk about
motion? I thought we motioned second. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Cummings, on the discussion.
Yes, so as previously noted in my email to the council and to the comptroller, we proposed a raise for the clerk's position commensurate with the raises that have been given to the deputy clerk through negotiated raises with NFCU. Unfortunately, still well below inflation. We'd love to see all of our employees get closer to that, but in the meantime, this gets it a little closer to parity. Do you have that Appendix A for us?
I have it, I will just make a copy.
I printed it, I didn't make copies, because I only received one amendment, so I didn't know if there were more coming or whatnot.
Do you have any to support your?
To the general fund, one amendment to the general fund. So the Schedule A, my thought was if there's more amendments, I'll put them on the sheet right here, send it out to the council and the clerk tomorrow morning, first thing.
And, while Mara is getting that copy of the amendment, I guess, a couple things. This certainly, who knows who is going to be the clerk next year. I understand you're looking at the position, not so much the person. Saying that, Mara has done an outstanding job. So, I certainly, my comments here have nothing at all to do, with Mara's performance. I think Mara has been doing a fabulous job. Saying that though, per the charter, the city council that comes in at the organizational meeting actually sets the salary for the city clerk at that organizational meeting. So I think, putting in a salary for 2020 is really taking the powers away of the 2020 council. So saying that if the 2020 council wants to increase it at that time, I would rather, than here tying the hands of the council. And I understand, what you're trying to do, but at the same time, it really is up to the 2020 council.
Sure. No, agreed. And I think what the core thing that this does is allows the 2020 council to advertise the position at a range that can either recruit better talent and or continued talent to reapply. Of course, as you mentioned, the next council will, at the end of the day, set that salary, but having it in the budget as up to this amount allows that to be advertised more openly. And have people that are applying know what they're getting.
Okay. Any further discussion on
Yeah, I'll
Yep.
say something.
council member? Yep, if you don't mind using the mic, great,
Sure.
thank you.
Yeah, and just doing some background research, I was shocked to discover that the actual adjustment, the true adjustment, if we're comparing with inflation rate, as it affects cost of living standard and how the Department of Labor looks at it. We're looking at the cost of living index has increased, but the previous amount of the salary by almost, the real adjustment would be like 21%. So I think, we settled for around half of that. And I think that should be, we're still not really happy with the adjustment as it has been in the past. And we're hoping that this sets a precedent for keeping the clerk's raises consistent with the deputy clerk's raises.
Council President.
Yep, Councilmember Parator.
I want to thank Councilmember Cummings for bringing forth this resolution. The role of the city clerk in New York State in various cities and counties has become very politicized in the past year. And I think it's really important that we have a well-educated, talented, thoughtful person in that position. And I think our salary should be commensurate with other similar sized municipalities. And so I'm in favor of this resolution, and I hope it will encourage Mara to stay on with us.
Okay. Any other discussion? This is on the amendment. Yep.
I'll just state for the record that the raise is solely for the position and not for the person,
Yep.
individual.
That is a good point because we're not obviously really sure who will be the clerk in 2020. And as I stated, this has absolutely nothing to do with the performance of our present clerk. She has done a fabulous job to date. And for me, it's just more obviously kind of, tying the hands. And I understand you want that ceiling.
To be clear, the next council could
Council President,
set it wherever.
Councilmember Kennedy.
has anything like that in the past taken place where an outgoing council allowed an incoming council to hold off on their budget vote to allow the incoming council to vote on the next year's budget from which they're joining?
Well, the charter sets, so the organizational meeting, you would set the clerk's salary. So saying that if the 2020 council did want to set the salary even higher, they obviously would find the money and figure out how to adjust that salary. For instance, when the two councils ago, when we first took office, we looked at the council salaries, we looked at the auditor. The auditor was making in the high 50s, 60s, I think at that time. We brought it down to a part-time position. We set the salary. We used that money instead to hire an outside auditor, an independent auditor. And additionally, at that time, the assistant clerk, I believe, took a decreased salary. So we, when we came in, it was discussed amongst the council to determine what to do with the council's appropriation. Saying that, obviously everybody's entitled to their own vote. I just feel let the 2020 council, because, they're going to set the salaries, they're going to hire their own people, things to that nature.
So, Chair, my understanding is it's our job, and as council members right now, to vote on the 2020 budget, and then the job of the incoming council will be to set the salary. So then we could still do both, right?
Yeah, if you guys want to increase it, I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying, no, I'm saying I don't support setting the salary higher. I'm saying right now, I don't feel putting that salary higher and allowing the 2020 council, if they want to find the monies elsewhere, if they want to adjust, they might turn around and say, you know what, we want a full-time auditor again. It's up to that 2020 council to decide how they want to go about the 2020 budget. And so saying that, yes, I mean, we're setting that 2020 budget, but I'm not in favor of raising that salary at this time. That's all I'm saying. So, further discussion. So this is on the amendment. Andy, I want to ask you, where are you taking the monies and have you factored in Social Security, et cetera?
It's on the Schedule A. It's permanent salaries and Social Security. The email from Councilmember Cummings had asked to have it taken out of contingency, and that's where it's at.
Did you send an email with a concern of contingency?
Yeah, I'm going to preface it by saying this has nothing to do with the city clerk. The contingency is based off a formula from the state comptroller's office. Following that formula, the contingency should increase under this amendment. It should not decrease. The contingency, the formula is total expenditures less debt, less judgments and claims times a percentage that we allocate to it. So this is going in the opposite direction of the formula. That's the only thing I wanted to know.
Chair,
Yep, Councilmember Gully.
Mara, everybody wants to tell you you're doing a great job because you truly are. And you're a professional at what you do, and we certainly appreciate it. I understand we've had methodologies over the year where the council would predict or set the salary and also pick, the majority would pick the city clerk. I agree, we're behind the times. But what I don't like is what Andy just mentioned. We take a step backwards to take the money out of contingency, which is something we're not supposed to do. And our fiduciary duty is to do the right things for the residents of Troy. Although I can't support the raise, I understand where it's coming, and I hope that the 2020 council would institute that with our own power as we come back to office. And it's these 11th hour shots, I think, are a little damning to our process, but I don't believe in taking the money out of contingency. If we had another place that we could draw that money from for that salary, I would be able to read into that and think about that, but not from the contingency.
And, on that note, I had thought that you, for some reason, I didn't think it was coming from contingency. I had thought you had talked about one time that there were monies maybe in office equipment or something to that nature, and so saying that okay.
Yeah, in our initial budget proposal, we certainly noted a $17,000 increase in revenue out of this department, and did request this raise in the first place. So just keeping it in there.
And when you requested the raise originally, Councilmember Cummings, was it the same out of contingency, or was it different?
Initially it was just part of our budget request when they were formulating the budget, but it was not included in the end result. So.
And are there any other exempt other than that one position? I know I asked for a list, Andy, of non-contractual and non-step. It is just that one position in the engineer's office?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Like I said, this absolutely has nothing at all to do with the present clerk. I really want to make that very, very clear. Okay, so on the amendment, we'll do a quick slow roll. Mara, if you could. Further discussion first. Any further? Okay, Mara, thank you.
Councilmember Gully.
Mara, I hope you do get the raise after the first year, but for now, I have to not let it go only because of the fact that we're drawing money against the proper way to draw money. No.
Councilmember Parator.
Yes.
You skipped Councilmember
I'm
Garrett.
sorry, Councilmember Garrett is absent. Councilmember Parator.
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
Councilmember December.
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Yes.
Council President Mantello.
And for the reasons I stated now.
The amendment passes 4 ayes, 2 noes.
Okay. Now, probably it would make sense, and you tell me, I know this is a little bit unorthodox, but, if we pass this and then go to 85,
So
I can present my reso. How about that? And we'll take it from there. Yeah,
It's an amendment, right?
right. It's an amendment.
So why don't you
Well,
present the
first.
amendment?
it's a resolution amending the proposed. So I put it in a resolution form, obviously, because We had talked about this through the committee meetings, et
But it would
cetera,
result in
et cetera.
significant
So,
changes to the budget.
actually, it wouldn't if you hear me out.
Okay.
So, you know, in terms of Resolution 85, maybe, Mara, if you don't mind reading the reso.
The title? or
Just the
whole
title.
thing? Oh, just resolution amending proposed 2020 Troy City budget, Council President Mantello.
Okay. Very quickly, this resolution, if you read the resolution, and unfortunately, okay, so, what I'm looking for in this reso is to adopt a one-year temporary garbage fee, to actually cap the fee. So, as many folks know, in 2018, the garbage fee was essentially supposed to be temporary. It was at $161. In 2018, the garbage fee was made permanent by the council at that time, and it was raised by $3 to $164. Now, a temporary fee, obviously, that was supposed to be a one-year fee from $161 is now being proposed for next year to go up to $180 per unit. So, my feelings, I obviously have been pretty vocal about this and felt very, very passionate in terms of, you know, the folks in the city of Troy to date are not seeing substantially increased services. The waste stream, we're still obviously much, much, much far behind the times. So the $180, in my opinion, is obviously an undue burden on the taxpayers. As many folks know, the projections for 2019, the comptroller actually questioned the projections, certain revenue projections in his report of December 6th. In the comptroller's report, please just let me finish and then we can have discussion. I'm presenting the resolution.
I think we're
Please
ready
Stop
to,
saying
let
the
me
whole thing.
present the
can we just
resolution.
move it to
So
a vote?
the city projected in the
Oh.
increased garbage fund from 164 to 180, essentially raising it $16. And I've made this point time and time again, that 3.319160 is under the $164 rate. You're raising it to 180 per unit, but the revenue's coming down to $3,139,000 or $139,400. It's $178,000 loss in the garbage fund. So essentially, as I've stated many times, the higher fee is generating less revenues. And I know, you know, it's been mentioned, the re-levy, there was a mathematical error, et cetera. But saying that,
There's no
okay.
error.
So the re-levy was run, but
No.
what you're asking, so you are in the revenue. I am
Point of order, I'd
presenting,
like to hear this.
thank you. I am trying to present my reso.
Last week you said you wouldn't
Please,
introduce an amendment
I'm
without votes.
presenting my reso. So, saying that, in the garbage fund, on page, at the beginning of the mayor's proposed budget, you have $3.139400. It is $170,000 less in the garbage fund. So what I'm saying is that if you cap it, you are not touching the garbage fund, because in the budget clearly states that we are producing less revenue, but we're increasing per unit $16. So what I'm saying, and I'm going to continue saying it, is you're increasing per unit, we're creating less revenue, we're not increasing services, and the garbage fund is obviously less in 2020 than it is in 2019, but yet we're raising the fee per unit. So this is my legislation. I will make a motion to present it as an amendment You can vote it down, you cannot second it. There's a motion on the floor, and we can take it from there and then discuss. So is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion.
Council President.
Thank you.
This shows to me a complete lack of understanding of the calculation of how this was formulated. The 2019 garbage fund was made up of two main revenue sources. One was the trash fee in 2019. One was the re-levy of 2018 garbage fees. Those 2018 garbage fees will not be in the budget this year because they were from 2018. They have been re-levied. Going forward, that re-levy, the re-levy that happens next year, already is counted towards the 2019 budget. So the 2020 budget will not have any re-levy revenues beyond what is from the 2020 fees. And therefore, that bit that was added to this year's trash fund via the re-levy will not be added to next year's budget via the re-levy, which is why, in order to meet, as you mentioned, actually a lower total amount that's needed to be raised to pay for this operation, nonetheless, the amount per person needs to go up because we cannot rely on funds from the previous year. We have to have this fund be sustainable.
And on that note, that's why the comptroller, and much to your dismay, the comptroller did mention the fact that the garbage projections with the commercial, the new line, that it is in question, not saying
So to be
anything's
clear,
wrong,
to be
but
clear,
to take a step back, what you're asking the people in layman's terms, and I view this as almost mathematical gymnastics, because what you're essentially saying is that the re-levy wasn't where it should have been.
no, it was exactly
It was-
where it had to be that year,
You're
but it does
putting
not
it,
exist into the
but
future.
clearly, you're putting it, what I'm trying to say, you are putting all of that onus on the taxpayer. So the taxpayer who saw a temporary garbage fee of $161, 1 year, they were promised. Now it's a permanent fee. It didn't just go up $3.
So what you're saying is this
Now it's
resolution
going
is
up.
designed to allow you to
Now it's
grandstand
going
rather
up.
than have anything to do with the
Now
math.
it's going up to 180. No, because services are not increasing, and it's not funny. Because the taxpayers are seeing decreased services for now 180. Who's to say, seriously, give us a mathematical projection of the next 3 years. Who's to say it's not going up to 190 in 2021, 200 in 2022? There is no real projection. And I hate to say this garbage fund, and this is one of the reasons, if you recall, we had issues with it from day one, because no one gave the clear projections. And we were told back in 2017, when this was approved, temporary, okay, temporary. Some council members voted for it, we didn't, I still oppose it. But saying that, what I'm saying, moving forward to try to minimize this on the backs of the taxpayers, it's $16. And who's to say next year we don't come back to the table and it's deja vu all over again? Where are the projections in front of the council right now saying, okay, your services are going to be enhanced. We're going to have cleaner streets. We're going to cut the waste stream, but we're going to keep it at 180. There is no guarantee, because last year it was bumped to 164. There is no clear, where on a sheet of paper are we seeing why a Joe taxpayer is seeing a $180 bill rather than the original 164? And then secondly, where is a 3-year projection or even a 2-year projection of this garbage fund and stating to the people of Troy, we're going to cap it at least at 180? What I'm saying is you're getting less revenue, cap it at 164. The administration, clearly, the re-levy was just not done appropriately. We wouldn't be sitting here tonight for another 16 bucks.
Can I
So,
speak? Can
yeah,
I,
this,
please?
it's
Council
fine.
President,
All right.
So,
So,
can we hear from you?
okay. So I don't really want to battle. I just want to kind of go unpack some things. On page 3 of the State Comptroller's report, the last paragraph reads, while revenues and appropriations appear reasonable due to lack of historical data on all estimated revenues and actual results of operations, for the refuse fund for a complete fiscal year, city officials should closely monitor the refuse fund throughout 2020 and make modifications as necessary. I can't stress enough the amount of time the OSC auditors spent with the deputy mayor and myself reviewing all the revenues in the 2020 budget in regards to bulk billing, garbage violations, interest and penalty, interest and earnings on bank accounts, commercial billings, and hauler permits to make sure that they are accurate, with especially the hauler permits in the commercial pickup because there was no historical data. They had no issues with the estimate. The note is that my office needs to monitor the collections and report it to the city council like we've done all year. So that's the first thing. The second thing, the re-levy. There was no error with the re-levy. This was an accounting methodology where in the general fund, it's called modified accrual. Revenues are recognized as they're paid for things like the garbage fee in 2018. In 2019, when we created the garbage fund, revenues went to what's called the accrual method. It's the same thing as the water and the sewer fund. Revenues are recognized as they're billed. And in 2018, while preparing the 2019 budget, I had conversations with 2 members of the State Comptroller's Office multiple times before the budget was presented about how to handle the re-levy. Because of the dollar amount, they wanted it budgeted for. I looked today at what the garbage fee in 2019 would have been without the re-levy. It would have been $194 a unit. It's down now. Now taking out, there is $60,000 of re-levy revenue in the 2020 budget because it's still not collected. If it's collected in 2020, it's 2020 actual revenue to the garbage fund. Without that, the garbage fee is $184 a unit. So looking at with stripping the re-levy out of this thing and looking at when it's in its own fund, in 2019, the fee would have been $194. In 2020, it's $184. It's down $10 a unit. There have been no errors. So please, I ask you very nicely, please don't say that my office made an error in calculating the budget.
accounting method. In my opinion, Andy, can you guarantee, so over the next 2 years, what are the projections for this garbage?
We have not been asked to do a fee projection for 2021 or 2022. It's certainly something I'd love to do, finding the time, with all the other projects we work on. It's certainly something that I think, and I won't just say the garbage fund. I'm not going to disagree with the garbage fund, like I've said throughout this budget process and all year. The garbage fund needs to be monitored and is monitored closely than the water fund, the sewer fund, and the general fund. I'm just being completely honest because it's new. The city, though, needs to have a look at projections, not just in the garbage fund. Where's the water fund going? Where's the sewer fund going? Where's the general fund going? I would love to do all sorts of projections like that. I'm not going to disagree about that. We've never been asked, and to be quite honest, with the staffing levels we have, it's very difficult to find time to do projects like that.
Well, this has to somehow happen because each year, we, the city council, can't get a budget and all of a sudden, okay, it's going up 16 bucks per unit. So, so saying that,
Council President.
what I would like to see a projection. Councilmember Kennedy.
I just want to recognize that you did cut the auditor position in half, which probably could have fulfilled your request. So maybe look to that in the future as we discussed in the recent budget hearings about restoring the auditing office.
Further discussion? Okay, so,
Council President.
yes, Councilmember Kennedy.
Andy, I know Councilman Cummings said that there wouldn't be any re-levy, but isn't it a fact that there's going to be people who do not pay and that will be re-levied onto their taxes? And
So the 2019, there's 2 inches to that, right? 2018 re-levies that are currently outstanding, there's
That's a
60,000. That's a
60,000,
60,000 in this
Okay.
budget because that's, again, that whole accounting methodology.
Yeah.
The revenues re-levies in the garbage fund for 2019 that go on 2020 property tax bills, all of that revenue has already been recognized in the garbage fund. And in 2020, the general fund will pay the garbage fund and the water and sewer fund for all re-levies.
Does that kind of answer your question? Because we're going to be asked next week, or I'm sorry, the
19th.
15th, the 19th, I apologize, just so the council's aware. We have to, as the council, re-levy, and Andy and I did have a conversation earlier. The charter does say that we need to do it by December 1st for this reason, because it's supposed to be a part of the budget, but we did have a conversation. Did you speak to the corporation council?
We're going to follow up tomorrow. I'll have an opinion. The question is that the code says all unpaid as of December 1st. The question is does it need to be brought to the council by December 1st, or is the cutoff date to pay December 1st? Our office is always treated as cutoff is November 30th or December 1st, and then bring it to the council in December. December 19th is the date because, quite honestly, we do a full audit of re-levies. We double check, triple check the numbers, make sure everything verifies. Once we do that, it would be ready to come to the council. And we will be bringing not just garbage re-levies, but all re-levies to the city council to see what they will be.
You know, and I think to dovetail, Councilmember Gully, you essentially were, and correct me if I'm wrong, so you're asking on those re-levies, will they be a part of the 2020 budget? And your answer is no. And
that's because they're already included, am I right?
They've already been recognized in the 2019 actual revenues.
And the 2018 re-levies were in
500,000 was in
Right.
2019, 60,000 is in 2020 because there's still approximately $94,000 in outstanding re-levy monies.
So I guess the biggest question, if it's in the 2019 budget, for people that say escrow and they didn't pay their bill this year, it's going to be in their taxes next year. So how did you budget for it this year?
For 18 or 19?
19.
19, we don't recognize the revenue. The actual revenue is recognized in 2019. There's no revenue to recognize in 2020.
But how can you say that? Because they didn't pay their bill.
It's the
And
account.
they say they escrow though. It's going to be next year.
It's the method of accounting as recommended by the state comptroller's
Felt
office.
by the cash flow in the general fund, not.
Yeah,
by
it's
the fund balance.
think of it this way. General fund is similar to how your income is reported in the general fund, similar to how you report your income on your property taxes, right? The money that you earn, you actually receive during the year.
If they escrow, the bill would have been paid already.
Right, the banks pay it.
No, not next year's, because
If-
I'm saying if they didn't pay their garbage fee this year, it's going to be re-levied on next year's
But if
because
it's escrowed, it's already been paid.
not the garbage fee.
The bank will pay it.
18, not 19.
No, I'm saying,
You're
right,
saying
No,
you're saying for 2019.
for 2019, there's no possible way because for instance, I asked
So
her.
the, so
I
the
just
general
got-
fund, the general fund makes it whole.
So, and that's the whole problem with this.
Just can't understand.
No, I do understand it, and please, I do understand it, but seriously, next year, you're gonna be coming back to us for another increase. Or I'd like a guarantee that the taxpayers aren't gonna see
Council
another
President?
increase next year. Yes, council member.
Have you, just for curiosity to understand, have you met with the Commissioner of General Services or the recycling coordinator to help guide this decision that you put before us?
No, I haven't. Thank you, council member.
So what do you propose to cut?
So I'm not proposing to cut. Your revenue is decreasing. I'm proposing
So,
that
Council
the
President-
garbage fund is showing a decrease in the revenue category. As I
Because
mentioned,
it doesn't have a
you are
reason.
showing,
Let's just
exactly.
call the question.
So,
We don't need to
saying
go any questions.
I've said my piece. Everybody's entitled to their own vote. Obviously, what I am saying is that you are increasing the taxpayers per unit from 164 to 180, $16 per unit, but yet the revenues are decreasing once again by almost $180,000. It's an accounting
Which is
method.
impressive because how much was re-levied last year?
So you're saying the taxpayers got a break. That, I think, is insulting.
Not what I said.
Seeing that Albany, the city of Albany, is paying $90 per unit. And it just baffles me how this went from a temporary 1 year to full up $3 and now another $16. And I don't see the cycle ending because I don't see it in black and white to the taxpayers saying, over the next 2 years, this is what we project from the garbage fund. This is what we plan to charge per unit. And I just don't feel the means is justified at all. So that's my opinion.
Should we
Further
have everyone
discussion,
repeat the reasons together?
Councilmember Gully.
So, Council President, I understand the interjection for the cap. Nobody wants to see the taxpayers pay any more than they have to because they're spending some decent money to live in Troy, and we realize that. But this program was so new in 2018 when it came out, I don't think anybody knew what the number was going to be. And then in 2019, as it was growing, I think there was some conception of, we started that process because if you remember in 2018, we had nothing going on. It was the same old, nothing was changing. It was just in the incubation stage. In 19, it went up $4. It went from 160 to 164.
161 to 160.
Okay, well, I got it written down differently, so I'll go with my numbers.
Okay.
But the fact is that I sat with Andy, we went over these numbers a couple different ways because I had great concerns over raising this amount of money, but I understand that along with, if we try to cut this money, we also have to worry about where the expenditures are going to be cut back to because there's not going to be sufficient funding to cover the program that we're trying to grow. And now that it's incepted into Troy and it's growing, there's adjustment coming. I know that I've been talking with some of the people in the recycling department about the fair pay program, which I'm hoping that will, create a better existence for the 1 bag or 2 bag garbage person compared to the 5-day-a-week garbage person in our city. It's just difficult to understand going backwards to 164 right now. I don't want to have anybody pay any more money either. So I just have a suggestion to you and possibly the council members that if we are looking to try to just keep a guard on this, I realize that you're going to have the votes tonight to pass this no matter what the two of us say. So my consideration would be that maybe we would look at a cap of 180 because we know you're going to pass this. Maybe we cap it at 180 for the next 2 years and give the program a chance to grow at that number and see what we can do, evolve with this fair pay program and the different programs that are being instituted into the sanitation and the recycling. That's the only thing I can really think of. I just thought I'd throw it out there. I see the heads waving no, and I'm okay with that. That's what happens when you sit on the short side of the boat. But it is what it is. I'm just putting it out there for everybody to think about and possibly look at it for an option.
Okay, we can, if everyone's done with discussion, slow roll, Mara.
Resolution 85,
Yeah.
Councilmember Gully.
No, it's an amendment to.
So the amendment.
83.
On the amendment.
It's a resolution. It's a resolution.
Sort of both.
What are you voting on, just to be clear?
We're voting on Resolution 85, which is a resolution amending the proposed budget to keep the garbage fee capped, just like the resolution
Yeah.
states. Yes.
We did not
Please.
change that, though.
We have a motion, we have a second, we are done with discussion. Please take a slow roll. On Resolution 85, we will go back to Resolution 83. That's what we said.
I
Thank
don't
you.
think we took a motion to.
We
We
did.
did.
We
I
did.
motioned, Councilmember Gully seconded. Mara, please.
Councilmember Gully.
You either make a vote to make people feel good or you do the right thing based on the logistics and the numbers. I just think that now that we're in this bucket of sanitation, we need to perform better and find a way to make it work properly in the city. And only through my discussions with Andy twice on these numbers. I don't think it's a good thing for the taxpayers to not have the program running properly. I want to support the number because it's easier on the taxpayer, but I can't support it tonight because I don't think that there's no explanation for the expenditures and how we adjust this. And without having all that information, it would be illogical of me to make that choice. So I'm sorry, I can't say yes.
Are you abstaining?
No, I said I can't say yes. I'm saying
So
no.
just say no.
I'm sorry, I just want to be different, present.
Councilmember Garrett is absent. Councilmember Perator.
Yes. Excuse me, I mean, no. That conversation went on so long, I
wasn't
forgot what we
going
were
to
voting on.
correct you.
No.
Councilmember Cummings.
Just doing some basic math here, this would create a $274,000 deficit in the garbage fund. And given that, I have to vote no.
Councilmember December.
Yeah, I'll echo my colleagues' comments. I don't see a fiscal analysis on this. I think this was done at the last hour. I'm going to vote no.
Councilmember Kennedy.
No.
Council President Mantello.
My vote. A couple quick things. The revenue, once again, I know it's been stated, there's a hole, et cetera. That is incorrect because if you look at the garbage fund, you were looking at 3.319 and change. It's going down to 3.139 and change. It's $178,000 less in the garbage fund in your proposed budget. More importantly, we heard about services, we heard about the pay to play. That is not proposed in 2020. So please, the pay to play is not happening in 2020. We have not gotten a proposal to do that. And more importantly, the services, I did not interrupt you during your vote, Councilmember Cummings.
It's called pay as you throw.
This, and saying that, pay as you throw, I apologize. The services have not increased. I am not seeing over the past 2 years with the new garbage fund, cleaner streets. I am not seeing the garbage in the alleys, which Councilmember Gully and I were struggling today with another code issue. I think we get calls 2-3 times a week. We have a bulk fee now, and people, to avoid the bulk fee, are now dumping illegally throughout the city. So the proposal in front of us, the services are not being increased. Other municipalities are doing it for less per unit. As I mentioned, the city of Albany is doing it for $90 per unit. And I believe we have serious questions moving forward of the projections. I view this, I heard accounting methods, et cetera, but at the end of the day, once again, the burden's being put on the taxpayer. So I vote yes on the amendment.
Resolution 85 fails, 1 aye, 5 noes.
All right, back to resolution 83. Mara, if you could read the resolution again, just for the record.
Resolution adopting the mayor's recommended budget for the city of Troy for fiscal year 2020 and adopting an amended budget for the city of Troy for fiscal year 2020. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
We have a motion
I think we need a motion for the
on
amendment.
the amendment,
For the amended.
for the amended
ordinance.
resolution. So the amendment passed, and that is the amendment for the city clerk. On the amended resolution, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Cummings. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Perator. Discussion on the amended resolution, Resolution 83. Mara, slow roll.
Oh, Councilor Beth.
Oh, okay.
I just
Discussion.
for the record, want to thank the Comptroller's Office for their tremendous work developing a very tight budget this year. There wasn't a lot of room for us to move around in it, but I think thanks for your thorough process and for going through it with us as well
Thank you.
over the last months.
Thank you.
Okay. Mara, further discussion? Mara, slow roll.
Councilmember Gully.
I'm gonna vote yes.
Councilmember Garrett is absent. Councilmember Perator.
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
Councilmember December.
Aye.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Yes.
Council President Mantello.
on the vote, there's a few things. First and foremost, we know, Andy, I know that you have worked very long hours, and I commend you for that. Saying that though, throughout the committee process, there were a number of things that were raised. Obviously tonight, the garbage fee. I certainly, from the onset, have not supported the garbage fee. There's a new bulk rate fee that the people of Troy were not paying prior to that. The tax levy, and not the tax rate, but the tax levy increase of 4.2%. The water fund, I, had heard, I believe, maybe it was in an editorial or something, that we weren't transferring the 2.2, but we are transferring 2.2 from the water fund. The comptroller does mention the issue of bonding equipment and bonding vehicles. We obviously need to move in the direction, especially you'll see in the bonding, there's mowers and small ticket items for say $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. So we obviously have to look at that. In terms of our production with the county, I would like to see more emphasis on trying to share services with the county. I'd like to see more emphasis in terms of trying to cut some of those costs. The consultant fees, we've talked about the outside consultants in legal. I think that certainly is a bit of an issue. And the pilot program, which obviously has an impact on our budget, which has a domino impact on the re-levy because the pilots are included in that. I certainly am committed to continue to try to put stricter control on at least the transparency, to try to get more transparency from the IDA and the LDC. I think a public safety fee, which we've talked about many times, I know it's poo-pooed, I know it's stated, you need state law. We do not, other municipalities do have this. They did not do a home rule. And I don't see a whole lot of effort in that direction. And then obviously last week, the council voted the option to transfer property that's appraised at $600,000 to the LDC. That we're hearing we might get public amenities, et cetera, but we had a potential to at least get the sale of that property in the hands of the taxpayers. So stating that and other issues, I vote no.
Resolution 83 passes, 5 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, we'll go back to ordinance 116.
Ordinance appropriating the various amounts of funds in the City of Troy budget for the fiscal year 2020 and levying taxes on all taxable property within the City of Troy in the amount required to be raised by property taxes in the City of Troy for the fiscal year 2020 budget. Council President Mantillo at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Cummings. We have a second, Councilmember Parator. That's okay.
Sure.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Ordinance 116 passes, 5 ayes, 1 no.
We will go to Resolution 84. Resolution 84.
Resolution appointing Daniel P. McCarthy to the Board of Assessment Review of the City of Troy. Councilmember Cummings.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember December. Motion, Councilmember Kennedy. We do have an amendment of this resolution. It is in front of the council. I will make a motion to amend this resolution. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second, for the record, Mara, we're going to strike out, will serve a 5-year term. We're going to add in April 5th, 2018. He will serve to 2019, complete the term, but then be reappointed for 5 years from 2019, October 1st to September 30th, 2024. We have a motion, we have a second, discussion, yes.
I just want to confirm 3 East isn't a current number or something. It's like a strange street name, but that's
Yeah, that's an apartment
part of
number.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Further discussion? All in favor on the amendment? Aye. Opposed? Okay, now on the amended resolution, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Kennedy, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 84 passes 6 ayes, 0 noes.
All right, we'll open it up. If any member from the public would like to speak on any issue happening in the city or going on in your neighborhood, we'd love to hear from you. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Cummings, second, Councilmember December Kennedy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Are we done?
We're done.
Shocking.
Oh,
Well, there's a